Welcome, everyone. I am Glenda Dawson, and I have Sarah Garcia here with me as my co-host at the Paranormal Dolls. We are live on Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV, Apple TV, and many other streaming platforms. Thank you for watching us every day, every time, and we look forward to hearing from you more. Maybe you want us to interview somebody special or anything like that. We're more than willing to hear our audience. So
no,
I'm taking requests.
Paranormal requests.
Paranormal requests. Then we could put it in a big jar and then pick out the name.
We're gonna put it in a hat.
In a hat. Okay, not the jar. All right. So how are you today, Sarah?
I am good. How are you guys?
Doing good. And now, we're good. We're going to introduce our phenomenal guest, Patrick Cross. Welcome. How are you today?
Good, no problem.
Good.
So far. Nothing happened to me paranormally yet today.
Yeah. There's still the rest of the hour, sir. Okay.
Yes. We're just starting. So tell us about yourself.
Oh boy, that's gonna take a while. Could do a book, 2 books. No, I've been doing. I've been in the paranormal for about 30 years, maybe even longer, because I grew up in a haunted house in Toronto, Canada. And
We'd love to hear about that when you're done. Okay.
Pardon?
We'd love to hear about the haunted house when you're done.
Yes.
And oh my God, I had so many experiences when I started at 11 years of age, and everything happening. And my father bought this house because it was cheap, and all the land was being built at the time. All the houses were being put in, and he thought it was a great deal. But the one thing that they disclosed at the time was, well, there was a murder here. So he didn't really care about the murders. He didn't really care about, but it was in the paper. And he goes, oh, well, I've been in the war. I don't worry about that and everything else. He didn't seem to care. And then as I grew older, things started happening. And I found out that the house was built on an Indian ground, sacred ground, and all the cemeteries were bulldozed over. Everything was all covered up, and all these houses were put on the land. So that was another problem. And just everything was happening. It started off slow, cold air, whispers, voices, feet walking around, sounds, doors opening, closing, all that stuff. And then as I got older, it just started getting worse. I would see things going on. My father didn't really want to acknowledge it. He didn't care. Even though if he did see something, he didn't want to say. My cat freaked out. It was just an ongoing thing. It was just like stuff that was happening. Like my mother would, she had a fruit cellar, and she would go downstairs, and there'd be blood dripping off the ceiling onto the floor. She didn't know where it was coming from. She just wiped it up, and it would start again. The same thing happened in her the kitchen closets. She didn't know what it was. She thought it was grape juice or something. And that as you know, if you found out when somebody dies, the blood turns into sugar and solidifies, and it turns like a sugar as opposed to a red. So it's, pardon? Yeah, exactly. So all this was happening, and she would just wipe it off, and it would happen again. So everything that happened in the movies was happening to me, and this was before that was happened in the movies. So a lot of the stuff that people would see on poltergeist and things wasn't always made up. It was actually, I disclosed a lot of this to media and television at the time, because they want to know what was going on, and they investigate and all that stuff. And when the walls start moving and hands coming out, and the walls are actually moving like inside, and you see a hand in the wall, and it's, throbbing and things crawling up the ceiling, all this stuff was happening before anything was even happening back in the 60s and the 70s. So everybody thought you're nuts, right? And we didn't want to talk about it. My father was a devout Christian. He wanted me to go to church all the time, and he was always, if I was talking about ghosts or hauntings or spirits, He wanted to beat me and lock me in a closet and beat the devil out of me. All this stuff was going. So I had a pretty wild, bad child, growing up.
Mhm.
And the only way I kind of got out of all this was to, I got into music and playing guitar. And that was my solitude, to get away from it all. And I had to lock up my room and keep my dad out. And the only time you actually really acknowledge something was when we have these saloon doors, for doors for rooms and stuff. The doors are just swing back and forth. There's no way it can stand open. So when they actually stood open, it's like, then he tried to pull it, he tried to push it down, and he goes, well, that's it, the ghost did it. So I finally said, yeah, you finally acknowledged it. But he always said the house was settling. He would never acknowledge it. He'd hear stuff. I hear screams in the basement. The true story is that the people that were there before, there was a daughter and a mother and a father. And the daughter was dating some guy named Greg Barton at the time. And the parents didn't like the guy and didn't want him around or anything, and said get lost. And the guy kind of went ballistic, came back, and he said, well, if I can't have you, the girlfriend didn't really want him either because it was threatening. And the guy said, if I can't have you, I can't have anybody. And he took an axe and he killed them and chopped up all the bodies.
Wow.
So he killed the daughter, the girl he was dating, and he killed the mother and the father and chopped up the bodies and left all the body parts around the house.
Mm.
Great, some more stuff. And as I was growing older, I figured just things were happening, was telling me that there was things around, and that's why there were screams. The bodies were killed and chopped up in the basement. So I later got brave, and I had to get some answers, and I started talking to psychics and people like that. And they said, well, the bodies are around the house, even though there was nothing per se in the house.
Right.
And it just got really bad. Like my dad thought it was nuts. And when they went away on a weekend, we basically were brave, me and my brother, and we went into the side of the house, which was where my room was. And it was always cold. It was always freezing. It could be 80 degrees in the outside. It was always cold air. Just everything going on. And we started digging by the side of the house where we thought something was there. And as we dug about 4 feet down, my brother was with other guys. We were all together trying to dig this up, and my parents were away for the weekend. So as we dug, we finally hit something really hard. And it was like a big, kind of like a plastic, really heavy bag, and it was all tied up with rope. But you could see from the top of it inside, it was looked like blood and everything else, and all blood coagulated. It looked like maybe a head or something, and body parts. So we all freaked out, and we just realized that, oh boy, if we tell somebody, then my dad might get charged for murder, and we'd be accessory. He's like, oh great, now what are we gonna do? So all the other kids ran away, and my brother and I were just left there, and he took off because he was scared. I ended up putting all the dirt back and piling it up again. So on the other side of the house, there was I guess there was some kind of body parts there too. And every time my mother would make grow tomatoes, they all turned really sour and bleeding. It was like, oh my God. And it looked like, it was like, I guess, whatever was there, the body parts and things, and would cause all this seepage. And the tomatoes turned really bad. I would never want to eat them. It was just like blood tomatoes. This is terrible. So after all this, I got, oh my God, it just got worse and worse and worse. And finally, my father sold the house. So I was about 17 then. I was trying to distance myself from that. I was trying to get into music. I got into radio broadcasting. I went to school after college. After high school, I went to college, studied broadcast and radio arts, and more or less followed that. But I was always psychic and picking up things as I was growing up, and I was into big time sound. So I was also into recording. I was getting into all this stuff, and nobody knew what was going on back then. Nobody knew how to do things. All was analog tapes and whatever we could do to find out about ghosts, because you know, we used giant tape reels and all kinds of recording microphones. And I learned the art of sound recording in studios, and I applied that to learning about EVPs, how that works and how to record stuff, edit, and we could edit all the tapes. So I got really good at that and get into it, and I still use it to this day. So I also teach classes on recording and sound recording for audio for, you know, if anybody's in the paranormal. Right, like in those days, everything was more manual and analog. And it was, I think it was a lot better because everything now is compressed. So there are some good things that are used for devices and techniques, but a lot of it's compressed. So you're going to lose all the high end and the low end. And when it was analog, I still use analog tapes, Sony ones, as opposed to the digitals. It's all, you don't pick up a lot of things that you would normally hear. So going on, it's just like all these things was a learning experience. I still got into the paranormal. I kind of got away from it, but I was really interested in recording a lot of audio for a long time. And I started getting really good at EVPs and sounds. And then I started having things following me around because I'm very open and psychic. And my mother was open and psychic, and she saw all kinds of stuff at the house and things and demons and everything else coming at me. I haven't really gone back there, but I know things are still there. And I know that families, about 7 or 8 families, have gone through there, had all kinds of experiences with demons and entities and ghosts and hauntings. And it's still going on. I don't even think they ever still found the bodies. And if I did try and tell anybody that, they'd never believe me. So it's a long journey from then to now. And how I got into more paranormal, I didn't really want to be a paranormal investigator. I was more into sound engineering, recording, career, that kind of thing. And I just kind of fell into it. There was nobody else doing it. And in Toronto, I met up with some people who are doing an author, a very famous author now named John Robert Colombo. And we hooked up, and he said, well, I've got all these places to check out. I want to write stories and hauntings and ghost stories and folklore. Do you want to follow me around and investigate the ghosts? So I started doing that. And I would pick up stuff and I'd start taking pictures and more sounds. And he was pretty impressed. Got into the news, and I got interviewed by Toronto Star, the Globe and Mail, and then went on to other things that were happening because nobody was really doing ghosts at the time. They thought it was crazy. So it was a big thing, and it was, people would be laughing about it. So it was more bigger in Britain at the time than it was anywhere else. That's where the original thing came from. And then the US started getting more into, like where you guys are, the States was following all the history. It was really started off with history, and then everybody got into ghosts. And now everybody thinks it's fantastic, but when I started out, everybody think you're crazy and want to lock you up. So now it's accepted, but now everybody wants to be a ghost hunter. Everyone wants to be an investigator, everyone wants a medium, but I researched it for years. Huh? Sorry?
Everyone's a ghost hunter and everyone's a medium now.
Yeah, and it's weird because I did a lot of research and work on it. So it's not you just can't be a ghost hunter. Right. Oh, I took some pictures of a ghost. Like I did all sound, how to record, how to do this, how to diversify with it, how to understand it, what's the density of an orb, what is it made out of, what is the temperature a variable with it, how does the body react after death? All these things I researched over a couple of years and applied my skills. I'm not saying that you can't learn, but a lot of people just go out and say in a group, oh, I'm a ghost hunter now. And they have no clue what they're doing and know what they're going, or no respect for the ghosts or people who have died, because, you know, we're all spirit energy anyways. So I try to tell people that the old school way is still the best, and you still can learn and apply new things, but you have to be respectful. And, and you just can't go and say, oh, there's a ghost over there, there's a ghost, and that's it. And all these shows make people want to do it, and they think it's fame and fortune and money and all that, and it's not.
Yes, and it is true, like what you said, it's all about respect. That's the number one key here. You go into a place, and if you show them respect, they will show themselves, they will talk to you, but it'll be on a different level. They won't scare you as much or try to, because they're just defending themselves. And imagine someone coming to your house and just walking in and saying, show yourself, where are you? Blah, 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 and yelling. So that whole respect is a key thing, and at least for me it is. And the old, when I did investigations, I used to do the reel to reel. You know,
Right.
start, stop. It was the huge machine that you carried all around you with you, and so I remember that. I remember more the less digital, but everything has its purpose. And I believe if you're going to be using a machine, you should learn how to use all of them. And
Right.
before you know, because then this way you may have a place where you pick up more with the analog than you do with a digital, or vice versa. So
Well, I set up my, microphones in the room. I use 360-degree microphones. I use all different types, Sony's, everything else, and I get different angles, and they tune a room. So if I'm aware, I'll get set up in different areas, and then try in different things to get different reactions and different recordings. And if the same thing is happening, or voices or video. Same thing with video. Like if you actually use the old DVDs and the old VCRs, you get a higher bandwidth of recording than you would with just a tape recorder or just your phone. So you get the full spectrum of what's going on around you with the old style video. So I use that too. I plug that in with TVs, and I use old videotapes, and I just record. I don't audio. Or I can record video, but you'll get way more stuff than if you would just everything is compressed.
Very true. Now, so when did you finally decide that you were going to go into the paranormal field completely?
Well, it's always around me. I still have a real job. I still work, I mean, I do this on a passion. Like, I shouldn't say a hobby, because it's become a part-time thing, and I do make money out of it. So I do tours, I do investigations. I don't charge anything for investigations. I don't charge to go to people's homes. I believe it's a spiritual gift. So I can help people and clear ghosts and clear spirits and help them along the way. But I've done a lot of TV shows, radio shows, and that kind of thing. So it's a semi-part-time thing. My main thing right now, I'm doing computers. I'm in IT security. So that's what I basically do, but there's very little interaction of any audio with that. But I delve into a lot. I go to a lot of places. I investigate. And I guess I started off by doing ghost walks or ghost tours here in Burlington, Ontario, Canada, back in 2002. And the only reason I started this, I was investigating a restaurant called Emma's Back Porch, which was very haunted. And they said, well, we'd like to talk about its history. We want to do a show. I went with Space Sci-Fi Channel, and they were very happy to have me there. And we actually investigated all, got it all on video, and then it kind of blew up over there as being really big. We had an opening night with authors. And then we just kind of started tours there. And we all thought, well, this is a one-time thing. And it was a lot of fun and everything else. We had like 200 people out. And then after that, the rest of it, would you want to start doing tours of us? So that's how it started. And then everybody else around started getting upset because, well, how come you're investigating that place and doing tours and not our place? So I ended up doing another place and another place. And it was like all the way all around the whole city. And oh my God, it was like, so I started making tours out of it. And people were really interested in the history. So I wasn't just talking about ghosts. I was talking about history and reenactments. What happened with military in the US and Canada. And it's all by the lake. So I did a lot of that, which people found very interesting. And I never thought it would last this long, but now I'm doing it for 21 years. And it's 2002 when it started. So I'm still doing ghost tours, ghost walks. And that's how I got opened up a lot of things, met a lot of people, and opened up a lot more investigations and for more TV and radio shows. And it led me to do other things, and then got on to bigger shows.
Now, any of your investigations, have you ever gotten hurt? Like, have you ever gotten like attacked or brought something back or anything like that?
I have been attacked in, in different areas and different things, even on the tours. I've been touched, I've been, felt hair pulled. A lot of people have felt all this as well. But I really got attacked in an apartment building in Burlington. I was with my ex at the time, married, and she was very negative and manic depressive. So there was a lot of negativity going on in my life. A lot of things are not happening for me. Things are going bad. I was living in this apartment, and it was again built on Indian ground, and the whole building was like, it's just bizarre. It was like all kinds of Indians and everything underneath in the ground, and a lot of spirit, demonic energy going through, and entities. And I experienced this in my apartment, and it just was really, really bad. I just felt this thing was attacking me, and that's part of one of the stories I'm putting in my book. But just face to face with a demonic entity, and basically what happened, I don't really know why they would follow me, or maybe because I was open and I was a Christian and believing in God, so maybe that was it. The main thing I remember was this big black image was in my washroom. The door was closed. You can see underneath the light, the thing was moving, and it was freaking out. Going, what the hell is this? I could not open the door for whatever. Push, could open the door. Finally, I opened the door. This huge mist of gray and mist flying out. I heard this big voice saying, "Get out!" And it was just bizarre. It was just like this evil thing, but I couldn't really see. It was all like black and looked like a spirit devil or something. And it just grabbed my throat, lifted me up off the ground, about 4 feet off the ground. It was strangling me, and I basically was being strangled and suffocating. I couldn't breathe, and it just I was just trying and praying. I said, "God help me!" I just let that out, and angels come out and help me. And then I fell to the ground, and the mist disappeared. But I was, oh my God, I couldn't even breathe. And I looked in the mirror. I had 3 claw marks on my neck, and that lasted at least a day or so. It was bizarre. Like, my wife wasn't there at the time. It was just like, oh my God, and all these things were happening. There was like this black soot thing coming out from the sink, just shooting out, and all kinds of stuff. And I'm going, what the hell's wrong with this building? And that was probably the time as I was doing ghost tours. I might have brought one of the entities back because there is a demon entities by the cemetery in the church. So it could have very well been following me and just didn't like me, and was attached. So I had to do a lot of praying and blessing, and I brought in a priest, and oh my God, the main thing I remember was how we got rid of it. There was a priest helping me out, and there was this giant wind flying around in an apartment, and he was holding a Bible. I could literally see all the pages flying around and flames coming off. It was like a movie. This you can't make this stuff up. And it was like, oh my God, and I'm standing there, he's holding my hand and putting a cross on my head and his head. And he was commanding in Jesus' name to get rid of it. And the thing just was around and trying to attack us. And I got scratched and bit. He was getting attacked. He used holy water, and I think it just made it worse. It pissed it off even worse. But he finally said, in the name of God, Jesus Christ, be gone. And it did leave. And it finally just got rid of the ceiling, all this black spirit energy mist. It was just phenomenal. And a lot of people witnessed a lot of stuff. So it's not like I've made things up, and I don't have to make things up. This is my daily life, that I can have enough stuff, evidence to show people, and they go, oh yeah. So pretty well all of Canada knows I'm haunted. And maybe the US too. So from the TV shows and everything else, I've got pretty big out of it. I don't pretend, I don't say I'm famous, but I guess famous in the sense that I'm trying to research and investigate ghosts and everything properly, on the proper way, in the proper scale. And media and television comes with it, of course.
Now, you have a little partner that you take around with you, Boo. So tell us about Boo.
Oh boy.
And
um,
in honor
okay,
of
I never
I
really got
also
into
have
haunted
a
dolls.
haunted doll. I have a few, but this is the most active one. So they need to go on a play date sometime. We'll ship her off to Canada. Lots of love to our
Okay,
Canadian
well,
friends over there. So let's talk about Boo.
okay, well, Boo is a black doll, and it's very rare to find black dolls. It's from the 1800s, and my friend, she basically collects dolls and had dolls all her life. And back in 2019, she called me and said, like, I really got to know what these dolls are doing. They're talking to me. They're haunted, and I was really curious. She didn't get Boo until the Christmas of that year, and all the dolls are kind of like normal. Like they're all children in the dolls. They're always, we got a lot of recording sound of them. They move, they say hi, I'm here, and stuff like that. They play, and apparently all the children in the dolls go out all day, all day and play, and then come back into the dolls at night. So it's just kind of bizarre, but it's just quite comfortable. It never really bothered me until we got Boo. She got Boo in the mail from a woman who had a haunted house or a haunted place with dolls that were haunted, and she wanted to get rid of it because Boo was just being a bad, like, it would cause destruction, it would blow up things. It was swearing and everything else too, and talking that way and swearing. So she didn't know what it was, and the woman sent it to her, and she got Boo. And then as soon as we got Boo, I didn't really think anything of it because he looked so cute. How could this doll be like, demonic or evil?
Mhm.
So the next day that she actually had it, Boo blew up the stove. Like it was just, the whole thing went up. It destroyed it. And she thought that was odd, that just before Christmas. And then a couple days later, Boo destroyed the garage. The whole garage door fell off.
Wow.
So I was going over there trying to figure it out, and I was trying to talk to it and explain, and say, what do you tell us about your life? And it became very miserable, and it was just a bad doll, and you want to smack it in the head, really. And it kept swearing, and I found out it's an older male who either died tragically or a serial killer or somebody, maybe in his late 30s, and he was just a mean kind of guy, and he's mean in death, and he's not necessarily evil, but he hates everybody and hates everything. I think he died tragically, and he loves causing destruction. He started swearing and told me off, swore off. He goes, "Get me a beer," and it was just bizarre. And so we put a beer down, and you hear the beer guzzling, and he'd be drinking the beer. It was like, oh my God. So then he's swearing, goes, he says like, I said, I have to go to the washroom. He goes, yeah, go take a leak. And they go, F you and all this stuff. And I'm going on to, I go, holy cow, I'll kill you. I want to punch him in the face. So it didn't do anything to my friend, Linda, but it was just bizarre. It's like, oh my God. So I think Boo liked me, just causing destruction. So we started off by, she was having problems at her work with her boss, and also with, those propane machines that you clean the floors with, and all has propane smell. And anyway, she was really upset about that one day, and there was a propane machine going around with a janitor cleaning it. And she goes, I wish that thing would just stop, the guy would go somewhere. And she goes, oh man, just Boo, come and do something. And next thing you know, the whole machine blows up. And she goes, the whole thing went, and as it was going, and the guys ran away, the cleaners. It was just crazy. She goes, so I guess Boo did it. She goes, well, I guess I stopped the machine from being used, and they couldn't fix it either. It was just like crazy. So we got onto this thing about that, and then we tried other things. So we thought, well, let's try other stuff and see what he does. And we took him out. We started doing Boo, took him on tours or to places where we thought we could do something. So we went to this restaurant, the Flying Saucer restaurant in Niagara Falls, Canada. And it's shaped like a giant UFO. It's so cool. It's actually built on a landing site for UFOs and stuff like that. So it was an actual landing site, and the restaurant is a theme about it. So anyway, we took Boo there, and the video is posted on TikTok. And No sooner do we sit him down, we order him a beer. And the waitress is going, "Oh, guys, well, this is weird. A doll with a beer." Puts a giant, mug there. And no sooner we sit him down, we heard this laughing, this giggling away like a little kid. There's no children around. And next thing you know, all the fire alarms go off. It's like, oh man, everywhere. All the lights going on, everything. And we said, "Do something, Boo." And all the fire alarms going off. And there was a fire starting in the kitchen. I go, "Holy cow." And we're looking at Boo. Did you do that? And it's like, you hear this little laughter going around. So I go out and I take my phone and video taping all the fire department comes there, the police come, and they all try and figure out what's going on. They put out the fire, and then we all said, "Well, Boo did it," and they all start laughing. And they says it never happened like that before at all. There was no explanation why all the alarms would go off. A fire starts in the kitchen, and they don't even know what his little voice is like laughing about. And it's just so coincidental, all these things that happen. So we know what Boo did it. We recorded it. So we get on this thing that we're going to do the event. Pardon?
And where's Boo now?
Sorry?
Do you still have Boo?
He's at Linda's place, but I kind of stopped recording him for a while because he's getting really dangerous. He wants to blow up more things, and he kind of doesn't like me right now. And he's interacting with the other dolls and upsetting them and pissing them off and stuff. And there's the other doll we have named Jem. He's a Jamaican doll. So Jem talks kind of Jamaican. "Hey, yeah, man, all of us," and they're fighting and they're interacting and fighting with each other and arguing. And then the new doll, Rosie, is also fighting with him, and Boo likes her. And we started, well, let's start making just these fun adventures in these videos, because it's better than just a doll just doing nothing and just a doll moved his finger. Well, whoopee. So we've been recording him and just making this whole activities happen. I'm making these skits, and it's been really funny. And now I've got like a huge following for him because everyone's Boo did it, right? So he's an alcoholic drinking, swearing doll. And I've been offered to go on TV shows with Howard Stern. And Bill Mayer has to come on the show. But the thing is, they want to prove that a Boo can drink a beer, and it's pretty hard to just do that on TV. Well, if you can prove that the doll can drink a beer right there, when we give it to him and it goes down, we'll give you 50 grand or 100 grand. I go, wait, it just doesn't happen like that. You can hear him sipping it and recording it, but you have to watch a long time for the drink to go down, right?
Right.
So you can't just make a ghost appear and do things on demand. It just doesn't happen. But it's funny as hell. So we made all these skits, and I had kind of declined the shows because it would maybe turn out worse. Maybe Boo would do something and make it. So I'm trying to keep the privacy of the ghost intact, and still be respectful. Guy's a miserable bastard and the doll, but we don't know what's going to happen. It could blow up the TV station or something. So or crash a car into the thing. I don't know. So I'm kind of still weary of him, and I'm staying, because it is still paranormal. They don't know how to react, right? We don't know what it will do. So I'm kind of calming it down for a while. I'm not really doing anything with him. He's getting too dangerous. He wants to go and blow up more stuff.
Now, we were talking about how a lot of people are getting into the paranormal field. So there's a lot of upcomers and stuff like that, people who are very new to the paranormal field. Do you have any advice to anyone who's dabbling or is interested in the paranormal and it wants to become an investigator?
Well, I think you have to do it with an open heart, an open feeling, and you got to trust your gut. So really, our gut is our part of our chakras. It is paranormal. Yeah. And if something doesn't feel right, or something isn't right, or something isn't there, we all sense that. We all can be psychic. We shouldn't be doing it. I'm drawn to certain things, but if there's something in the room or something bad, I won't do it. I think you have to be cautious. You have to be open-minded. But I'm still, a lot of times I'm a skeptic too until things happen. Until it actually happens, and there's no other explanation. And if you saw it and everybody else saw it, then I believe it. But if it doesn't happen, a lot of people are trying to make up stuff too. So oh, this happened and this happened and that happened. Like, look at, Zach Bagans, and look at, Most Haunted. Like, it's just a lot of stuff is made up on TV because it's drama. And if you're actually a real ghost hunter, as you know, sitting around watching ghosts for 8 hours, nothing really happens. Most of the time, you're lucky if something happens at all when you investigate or you get something. But because of the time limit on a TV show, they only have so much time, so they could compress everything. It looks like it's all happening right now, which it isn't. It might have taken days or weeks to get that footage. To say something is haunted everywhere you go is haunted. Like, there's no way everything can be haunted.
No matter how haunted a location is or residential, they don't always perform for you. There's been places where we've gone and they said it's very haunted, and I believe it's haunted, but at the moment they chose not to show themselves or whatever. And another time there's a lot of activity. So it's really like whenever they feel like it, to be honest.
Well, they have to gain your trust, right? If you wait and invite them in and then gain their trust, then you can acknowledge it. But if you're trying to force them and go, oh, come on, talk here and force that and do this, you're just intimidating them. It's just like talking to somebody else. How would you feel if somebody put a mic in your face and I was like, talk? We're still spirit in it. We're still alive as spirit, even though we have no body, right?
Exactly.
So that's the thing people don't understand. I'm going to get this ghost and I'm going to get them out and talk to them, and maybe, like you said, maybe don't want to talk, or they don't feel like talking. They don't want to talk to you. They're going to sense that you're just as bad too. So,
or maybe they decided to go someplace else for that moment. And they don't always, just because the place is haunted by certain entities doesn't mean that they're always there. They could be
and they could be walk-in. They could be walk-ins too. So just because it was there, sometimes it's not, and then it is. So apartments are famous because there's so many people going in and out. When you live in a condo or apartment building, you've got upstairs, downstairs, sideways, everywhere, and there's whatever was there before. There's a lot of activity that could be going on, or people have died in the building, older people, and it could still be the ghost there.
Exactly.
So there's lots of activity of that.
So I'm going to ask you what we've asked every guest, and I think I'm going to continue asking every guest, like, what's your top 3 places that you haven't investigated that you would love to investigate?
Well, I want to go to Salem. I want to go to New York, of course. Some of the cemeteries there. Sleepy Hollow would be amazing to go. And the cemetery at Sleepy Hollow where they actually shot the movie probably is extremely haunted. I've been told. Wouldn't mind going on the Queen Mary. That would be amazing to check out. The
I haven't gone either yet. I want to. Yes, they started opening it again.
Yeah, I think they have hotels in there now or something going on. Where you can stay in that, but it'd just be phenomenal to check out. There's so many places I want to go. I find there's a lot more things in the US than there is in Canada. A lot more places that are
come on over.
There are a lot of places here, but it's not as big as it is in the US. Demographically, the US is bigger than Canada. So like I said, I was at Gettysburg in 2019. I did the convention there, the Gettysburg Bash. That was fantastic. I got a lot of ghost activity. Went on the battlefield, was fantastic. Pam and Steve are the people. Steve Berry are the ones who organize it. If they get a chance, anyone to check it out, it's phenomenal. They have their conventions every July, and the whole area is just is sizzling with ghosts. You can go on the battlefield, you can go on the park. You're bound to get, I got all kinds of stuff and pictures and sounds and video and everything. It was just phenomenal. Great stuff. So there's so many places I want to go. I just finally the weather's getting better to get out and do stuff.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Then that's the thing. I mean, if it's an outside event or anything, especially cemeteries. I love to go to cemeteries because I like to be able to get the story behind the grave, like not just the story that people are saying, but what they're saying, their story, it really is. So there's a few in Pennsylvania that are really, really haunted. You know, people think that it's just that all cemeteries have spirits, and they really don't. Some stay behind to just stay behind. You know, so now are your
Do you have any
future
upcoming
plans?
events?
Yeah. Any
Sorry?
future plans? Any future plans?
Well,
events?
I'm still doing ghost tours here in Burlington, and they start up again in July. And the cemetery is very haunted. It's the one at St. Luke's is the main one here in Burlington, and it's the second oldest cemetery in Ontario, Canada.
Mm.
It's extremely active. Not really bad ghosts, but mostly the frontier people that started on, and the original people who were started the land, and it's also part of Joseph Brant, the famous warrior leader who banded all the Indians together against the Americans and fought with the British. So he was buried there, and there's a lot of ghost activity there that I got, and stories, including, I guess, the main one that I just sent you a video of is the haunted statue that we have in Burlington here. It's a cenotaph, and that's really how I got famous out of that one, because it's so fantastic and so active that people just don't believe it until they see it. So if I can tell you about it for a minute here, it's quite phenomenal to check out. Now I have a video posted on TikTok too right now. So it's very cool. The story is that there's a solid bronze statue. It's a statue of a war memorial soldier from World War I, even though most of the names and the people are dedicated to World War II. And story goes is this: people have always heard voices and sounds and walking and marching and shooting and guns and voices and talking around the statue, and nobody figured it out. So I delved into it, started talking about it, starting doing a tour around it back in 2002 and 3. And I wanted to find out, because I'd go over there and I'd start hearing a voice saying, you know, remember me, I'm here, I lived a hero, I died a hero. And we get recordings of this. We didn't know who it was. So then we got him talking, and with other psychics, he say, well, my name is Alfred. I'm here defending the city against war and battle and attacks. And we're going, wow. So we found it was Alfred Johnson. His name is on the plaque. And he died at the age of 24. And he is the ghost that is inhabiting the statue. So it's phenomenal. And what's happened is that on the anniversary of his death on August 19th, what happens is he says, watch me come alive on the day of my death. I shall prove it to you for the statue. So he would basically, there's all kinds of giant mist coming out, ghost mist. And around 11:15 at night, there used to be a bell that would go off there all the time, and now it's not there. And around 11:15, his hands would actually shift on the rifle and come down the rifle and change position. So his hands would move, his rifle would move, his eyes would open up bright white and then close, and all this mist, everything was just, and you hear guns and voices and everything. It was just phenomenal. So people thought I was nuts. Okay, I'm going, well, there's Patrick talking about stuff again, sure. So the Burlington Post, the news came down, wanted to make a time of this. So we're all going to catch Patrick in the act if this really happens. You're talking about a haunted statue of our city. Is this true? And all this stuff. And I go, yeah, it is. And I was just hoping to bring Alfred, do the job. You got to do this because I'm going to look either really bad or really good. So got around, on the anniversary of death, August 19th, all the media came down, TV stations were there, camera crew, City TV, CTV. Everyone goes, oh my God, this is going to be a nightmare. So we're waiting around. I had to tell everybody, turn off all the cameras, all the lights, because he doesn't like the lights. Right. He won't do anything unless the lights are off, because it's intimidating, right? So we only use flashlights, and bell goes off around the time, everybody's watching, and we're waiting, and all of a sudden those mist rises up from the ground, up around the pedestal, up around the head, and it's all glowing and orange and white. I go, wow. And then they're all looking, and then the hands literally shift on the rifle again. And everybody sees it. And they go, whoa, they all run away. They're all running away. And I kept shooting my camera every second, 10 seconds, and watching the hands hold down the rifle. It's phenomenal. We got it. I go, yay. And now I'm famous. And everybody else runs away. And they all freak out. So it goes on the news viral all across Canada. This statue, and it moves, and watch the hands move. And then even the bigger thing that happened is Alfred smokes a cigarette. Okay, how does that happen? He's got no arms, no body. How does it happen? Well, it all happened because Jim was an investigator with me, smoked a cigarette, was leaning on the statue one day. He drops it, and he looks to pick it up, and the whole thing just goes zoom all the way down. And Jim goes, what happened there? So he gets another cigarette, and he lights it, puts it on the ground, thing goes zoom, just like that. It goes, whoa! So we get another cigarette. We hold it up, and we go, Alfred, do you want a cigarette? Is this you? And he's like, I guess he's acknowledging it. And there starts smokes coming out of his mouth, out of his eyes, out of his head. I think he was so happy because he hadn't had a cigarette for like 20 years or something since he's been dead. So we hold it up, and the thing just starts smoking and smoking, and the embers are going and puffing away, and there's nobody doing it, and there's no wind. Phenomenal stuff. And we got it on camera, on video, and next thing we're making a tour out of it. And the only way you can smoke a cigarette is by puffing it, drawing it in. There's no other way.
Right.
So we're doing this, and we're showing people. With the first time we did this, we had about 30 people, and they all went, wow. And they all are trying to give Alfred a cigarette. So this kind of went viral, and people caught it on video. And then he'd literally puff and smoke it. And the smoke would come out of his mouth and his head and his eyes. And his eyes would open up. And it was just, we didn't get much of him moving his hands lately for a while, but that went big. And then it was so big that the city of Burlington got really mad because we had over 500 cigarette butts all over the place. They wanted me to clean it up and charge me for it. So that became the big highlight of my tours, and the story got me on more news and television. The real ghost activity about ghost smokes a cigarette, and he's in the statue.
And
So
that's definitely
yeah.
natural. It wasn't.
It
like,
was.
you
It was
know,
just. But it's just acknowledging ghosts, how their life, and if they want to show themselves, they will. And if there were, we've had tours where there's a lot of people that have mean and and say, come on, force him. He won't do anything. So he'll only do it if he feels like it, or if he likes people, or if he's welcome. If he feels welcome, he'll do it.
Well, tell us where your followers can find you, so we could tell them all about you, and they could, once they see this, they could follow you, and maybe, who knows, maybe they'll go from US over there just to do the tours with you. So
a lot of the US people come to Canada in summer, so they do tours here. There's hotels to stay here. And I do investigations here. So basically it's Burlington Ghost Walks, and my website is burlingtonghostwalks.ca. A lot of the photos are on there, as well as my main page that people can find me on Facebook is Discovery Ghosts, Patrick Cross. And pretty well anywhere on the internet, punch me up and I'm there. As well as TikTok, and find me on that with all my latest videos, and the videos of Boo, which is pretty phenomenal. We're getting a lot of hits out of that. So I'm always open to help people. I always do investigations. I go all over Ontario and Canada, and parts of the US when I can, across Buffalo and New York. I don't charge for investigations or clearing houses or businesses, because it's a spiritual gift. I give back. That's how I feel. And the more you give, the more karma positive you put out, the more you get back, basically.
Yeah. Yes, very true. Well, thank you for joining us today. It's been a pleasure. Sarah, thank you, sweetheart. Lovely as always. And thank you, everyone. Until next time.
Welcome to Canada.
There you go.
Thank you.
Yes.
Happy hauntings.
There you go.